Native resolution is dead, and the trillion-dollar Silicon Cartel killed it. AOA publishers have completely given up on optimizing their absolute spaghetti code. Instead, they are forcing you to rely on fake, AI-generated frame upscaling just to hit a baseline 60 FPS in a hallway. But this isn't just lazy game dev. This is a deliberate global economic strategy to hoard raw silicon for nation-states while making gamers pay a premium for the illusion of performance. Look, we need to have a serious talk about the state of PC gaming right now. Because right now, the entire community is drowning in copium. You drop $1,000 on a brand new top-tier GPU, you meticulously update your drivers, you close everything in the background, and your reward? Your reward is 45 frames per second, blurry textures, and a game that crashes to the desktop if you look at a puddle too fast. We used to mock console players for playing at 30 frames per second. Now, PC players are spending $2,000 on rigs just to brute force poorly optimized ports that still run like unplayable slop. And every single time this happens, the gaming community does the exact same thing. We go on Twitter, and we scream at the developers. We call them lazy. We say they don't care. We say they lost their passion. But the developers aren't the actual problem here. The developers are just the meat shield. The tech industry desperately wants you to think that your PC is the bottleneck, or that the devs just needed a few more months to patch the game. They are gaslighting you. The terrifying truth is that your stuttering, glitched-out AAA game is the direct result of a massive global talent drain, overseas code fragmentation, and a hardware embargo that is quietly destroying the consumer PC market from the inside out. Pandemic. To understand why games run like absolute garbage today, you have to understand how games are actually built in the modern global economy. It's not 2005 anymore. Games are no longer built by a team of 50 passionate nerds sitting in a single office in California, drinking Mountain Dew until 3 a.m. AAA games are now billion-dollar corporate operations. And due to massive global inflation and insane interest rates, international publishers are desperate to cut costs. So, what do? They fragment the code. They take a massive project and offshore it to 15 different auxiliary studios located in 5 different time zones. You have a studio in Montreal working on the physics, a studio in Eastern Europe doing the lighting, and a studio in Southeast Asia doing the asset rendering. None of these teams are communicating properly. They are all working on different builds of the game, on different hardware, merging their code into massive bloated proprietary engines like Unreal Engine 5. The result is what programmers call spaghetti code. It's an unoptimized, tangled mess of overlapping scripts and memory leaks. By the time the game is finally stitched together for launch, the code is so heavy and broken that it physically cannot be processed efficiently by a standard CPU. Back in the day, if a game ran poorly, engineers would spend months stripping down the code, optimizing the memory allocation, and doing the grueling, highly technical work of making the game run on native hardware. But today, publishers look at that broken spaghetti code and say, why spend millions of dollars and delay the game for 6 months to optimize it, when we can just force the player to turn on DLSS?
But wait, why don't they just hire better engineers to optimize the code? This is where the macroeconomics kick in, and this is where it gets incredibly depressing for gamers. The smartest software engineers on the planet, the guys who used to do that deep-level engine optimization, don't make video games anymore. They are gone. Why? Because we are in the middle of a geopolitical talent war. Nation-states, defense contractors, and trillion-dollar tech conglomerates like OpenAI, Microsoft, and Google are currently pouring hundreds of billions of dollars into artificial intelligence. If you are a top-tier software engineer who knows how to optimize complex code and squeeze every ounce of performance out of a GPU, you have a choice. You can either work for a game publisher, get severely underpaid, get death threats from gamers on Reddit, and get laid off the second the game ships. Or you can go work for an AI firm funded by the Saudi government or the US Department of Defense, get paid 10 times as much, and receive a massive stock options package. It is a global talent drain. The AI industry acts like a massive vacuum, sucking up all the senior level engineering talent that used to make your games run smoothly. The people left behind at the game studios are often junior devs, massively overworked, underpaid, and given impossible deadlines by executives who only care about hitting a quarterly earnings report. You aren't playing a game made by the best in the business anymore. You're playing a game made by whoever was left over. Chapter 4. The Silicon Cartel's Master Plan. Now let's talk about the hardware side of this nightmare, because the GPU manufacturers, the Silicon Cartel, are absolutely complicit in this. In fact, they are actively encouraging it. Companies like Nvidia and AMD have realized something very dangerous. Raw rasterization, the actual physical hardware power required to render a game natively, is getting too expensive to produce for the consumer market. Why? Geopolitics. Right now, almost all of the world's advanced silicon is printed on one tiny island, Taiwan, by a company called TSMC. Because of the ongoing US-China chip bans, international trade tariffs, and the looming threat of a geopolitical conflict, securing space on TSMC's 3 nanometer and 4 nanometer manufacturing lines is a bloodbath. It costs a fortune. Nvidia is currently selling enterprise AI chips to governments and megacorporations for $40,000 a pop. They cannot keep up with the global demand for AI hardware. So, when they look at the consumer gaming market, they have a massive problem. Gamers want 4K graphics at 120 FPS, but gamers only want to pay $800 to $1,000 for a GPU. To give gamers that level of raw silicon power natively, Nvidia would have to divert precious TSMC manufacturing space away from their highly profitable AI chips just to print massive, expensive gaming dies. So what is their solution? Fake frames. They push technologies like DLSS, FSR, and frame generation. They tell the gamers, hey, look at this amazing AI upscaling technology. It's revolutionary. But what it actually allows them to do is sell you a significantly weaker, smaller piece of raw silicon, and use software to fake the rest of the performance. They are artificially lowering the hardware baseline. Chapter 5. We are the beta testers. And here is where the vicious, unholy synergy between the game publishers and the hardware manufacturers comes full circle. The hardware companies need an excuse to sell you weaker silicon while relying on software upscaling. The game publishers need an excuse to stop spending money on engine optimization. So, they shake hands. The publisher releases a game that is so incredibly unoptimized that it runs at 25 frames per second natively. Then, the hardware company steps in and says, don't worry, just buy our brand new $1,200 GPU with the latest version of frame generation and it will magically run at 60 FPS. It is a manufactured problem with a manufactured solution. They create the bottleneck and then they sell you the cure. Native resolution is effectively dead. If you look at the system requirements for modern AAA games, they don't even list native performance anymore. They list the recommended specs, assuming you have DLSS turned onto performance mode. They are openly admitting that their games are unplayable without relying on fake AI frames to fill in the gaps of their broken spaghetti code. Gamers have essentially been downgraded to beta testers. You are paying $70 for a broken piece of software, running it on an artificially limited piece of hardware, and acting as the crash dummy for their unoptimized corporate synergy. Chapter 6. Will it ever get better? So, where does this end? Will we ever go back to the golden era of PC gaming, where you could buy a GTX 1080 Ti, boot up a beautifully optimized game, and actually play it natively without 7 different upscaling sliders turned on? Honestly, no. Unless there is a massive crash in the global AI market that suddenly frees up thousands of senior engineers and drops the cost of TSMC silicon manufacturing back down to earth, this is our new permanent reality. The tech industry has realized that gamers will complain. They will review bomb on Steam. They will make angry YouTube videos. But at the end of the day, they will still buy the game, and they will still buy the GPU. As long as the money keeps flowing, the Silicon Cartel and the AAA publishers have absolutely zero financial incentive to change their behavior. We are entering an era where PC gaming is no longer about raw power and ownership. It's about relying on a corporate drip feed of software tricks just to make an inherently broken product vaguely playable. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Are you completely sick of being forced to use frame gen and DLSS just to play modern games? Or do you think the tech is actually a good thing for the industry? Hit the subscribe button if you want to keep up with the real macroeconomics driving the tech world. Hopefully you guys have a good one. I'm going to see you guys in the next video. Alright.